It's nearly a year since my traditionally published debut, Let's Split Up, released into the world, and I wanted to talk about the truths of the traditional publishing industry. It is a whirlwind. It can be really slow. For me, it wasn't, and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the things I've learned, the pros, the cons, all of the above, and I guess try and dispel some of the traditionally published rumors. I don't know. There's definitely been things that have shocked me, some things that I didn't know. So if this video helps you, I really hope it does. If you're looking into getting traditionally published, into getting an agent, I hope you get some guidance, I guess, from this video, and I hope it helps. If you don't know who I am, my name is Bill Wood. I'm the author of Let's Split Up and the upcoming Be Right Back. Let's Split Up released last September in the UK. It did really well. We're getting a TV show. It's releasing in the US this September. By the way, if you pre-order it, you get a really cool sprayed edge edition. I Please do it, thanks. I've got about 8 things I want to talk about. This isn't scripted, so I might jump from topic to topic, but I hope it helps, and I think we'll just get started. So the first thing I learned very quickly, traditional publishing is so hectic. I think going from being self-published and everything being in my court, I decide everything. It was really weird, like having everything decided for me. I kind of like it. I do prefer having like a structure, like if you know what I mean. But the thing with publishing, traditional publishing, the deadlines are crazy. It's going to differ for publishers. My publisher very quickly put me on a schedule of 1 book a year, which I can do because I'm doing this full time. But the deadlines sometimes are very, very hard, and I've now learned to say no if it's ridiculous. Normally I meet them. I think there's one that I've only one since I signed my deal that I've missed, and it was by a week, and I just said, look, this isn't realistic, I'm going to take a week, and my editor was fine with it. But yeah, deadlines, they really take getting used to. I think when you're self-published or you're just trying to stick to deadlines to get a draft done but for yourself, those deadlines are not like set in stone. You don't have anyone waiting on you unless you've got, like, say, like booked an editor for a certain date. Then yeah, it's different. Yeah, I was expecting some crazy deadlines, but some of them were absolutely wild. I think for like a developmental edit, if I'm not having at least a month to work on it, I am very, very stressed. I think especially a first round developmental edit, you need time. Again, you don't want the book to be bad. And yeah, it's something that I've learned to stick up for myself, and I think I've kind of worked out what works for me now, and my editor knows that. So things are improving, I guess. And that kind of leads on to the second one, because editors are just a godsend. I really only thought I would work with one editor, and I don't know what it is like for other publishers, but my publisher, Scholastic in particular in the UK, I've worked with about 10 editors already in my time, like editing, just finishing up editing my second book with them. I've worked with like 10 different people at all different stages. Obviously, I have my main editor who bought the books. She works on like kind of developmental structural stuff. And then I have a different lady, Jen, who I work with on that sort of stuff. And then kind of in like other bits too. And then I have different line editors, copy editors, freelance people, people who do the proofreading. It's just so many more people than I thought. I didn't realize how many people I would work with. I'd say developmental edits are like the scariest part, and that's where editors are so helpful, because they're helping you guide you, aren't they? Like they're helping you change the book in where they think needs it. And that's such a daunting thing if you think that you've got like 90,000 words to kind of rewrite. And that's how I do it. I have like 2 monitors. I have my old manuscript on one, and then my new one here. I find that a lot easier to comprehend, and it's scary. And that's why you need the time to do it. And an editor should be the one to kind of help you when that gets a little bit too much. And my editor has definitely been like that. And I think just the whole process was kind of unknown to me. I didn't know how it was going to work. And my first book was a little bit more straightforward. Like, we did the developmental edit, then we did the line edits, blah, 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 blah. But with the sequel, we kind of did it in a way which worked a lot better for me. And it kind of saved a bit of time because, again, we wanted this book out like a yearly schedule. We actually did like a developmental edit on my pitch. So when was it? Like whenever it was, late last year, when I sent over my pitch for what my second book was going to be, my editor got back to me with her notes, and then I came back to her with an updated pitch with including some of her notes there. I thought they were like, yeah, this is good. And then we kind of had a call, and we did like a structural developmental edit on the pitch, which was so helpful because when I then went to write the book, I banged it out really quickly because I had a full on zero draft almost for the book. And then when we got to editing the first time round, the developmental edit was like almost non-existent. There was definitely things where we're like, okay, we'll move this scene, or we should do something else with this character. But in terms of like big overhaul edits, there was barely anything. We saved a lot of time, and yeah, I'd never thought about it that way, but it was so helpful. Now, I don't know if that is the norm, but I'm doing it again with my next book with my publisher, which is all hush hush. But again, so good. I'm just having a good time because it means I've got such a thorough plan for when I do draft. But yeah, it was just like a nice way to kind of cut some time corners, and it worked really well. The next one I've kind of already mentioned, but yeah, you work with so many people, not just editors. Again, I've worked with probably 10 editors in the time that I've been with my publisher. And there's marketing. To be fair, marketing's a little bit smaller. That at the UK Scholastic, at least, I work with 2 people, but everyone's pitching in, everyone's helping like come up with different marketing ideas. I'm always sending stuff over where I think, okay, could we do this? But my editors pitch stuff, my publicist has pitched stuff as well. And I think that's what's so good about Scholastic UK. It is a bit of a smaller team compared to, I say, Scholastic US. I feel like that's a little bit bigger. Well, obviously it is, but I feel like it doesn't have like the close knit vibe. I don't know, because everyone's working with you. You know everyone at Scholastic UK, which I really do like. And then I've got my publicist, who I absolutely love. I only have one publicist. I don't really need more than one. She's amazing. She is a godsend. She's like my favorite person ever. She's so lovely. And then you just work with random people at the publisher, like people who aren't necessarily involved with your book, but they're always there, always helping you out. Whenever I've had meetings, they turn up, and I'm just like, you don't need to be here, but it really means the world because it makes you feel a little bit more special and makes you feel a little bit more at ease when you realize that there's like big bosses like making sure that you're okay, you know? And you should feel special because you've written a book, they've bought it, you don't want to feel left out. And I think I was a little worried that traditional publishing was going to feel not gatekeepy, but like, do you feel like, do you see where I'm coming from, where you feel out of place? There's definitely times where you do, but for the most part, they do everything they can in their possibility, I guess, to make you feel like you're worthy. Maybe something a little bit more negative, something that I found out, marketing. I've talked about this in my self-publishing versus traditional publishing video, but yeah, marketing at a publisher is all dependent on where you are on their list. You've got their normal titles, you've got their lead titles, then you've got their super lead titles. So think a super lead title would be a Suzanne Collins, like her new Hunger Games book. That's actually at my publisher. So why I say that, she's getting promo on TV, radio, ads everywhere, that sort of thing. She's getting the proof. Actually, there was no Hunger Games proofs because of like spoilers, but like postage to influencers, all that sort of stuff. That's a super lead title. Now, my book wasn't a lead title. Well, I've never told it was, and I wasn't getting that crazy promo until it started doing well, which I think for the second book now they're doing more for it. But yeah, most authors, if you're not like the biggest title of the year, you're not gonna get crazy promo from marketing, and it's down to you. I learned that very quickly when, I mean, I, I don't want to say anything wrong here, but as I was coming up to my release and I was doing promo, I was posting every single day until probably July last year when I just got a bit burnt out, and I was still posting very consistently. Um, I was realizing that it was kind of me doing all the marketing. There's only so much publishers' marketing can do with the budget. I don't know what the budgets are. Again, it depends on where you are on the list. But it also feels then even more rewarding when the book does well and you realize that it's on your merit, you know, like it's because of you, it's your marketing that the book has done well. So that felt really good. I felt like that gave me a bit of street cred at the publisher, and maybe why they kind of like me. Who knows? I think I'm going to get a bit more marketing this time. I mean, we'll soon see, the book's out in October. But I think that, again, that's down to the book doing well. So I don't know if I'm really a lead this time, but it definitely feels like it. I'm having a lot more conversations with people, and I don't know, it feels nice. But again, I'm noticing differences from my first release, which obviously is a very contentious issue. In a perfect world, they would market every book, but we're not in a perfect world, and I wish that was the case, but it's not. So it's definitely something to think about if you are wanting to traditionally publish, because there is a chance that you don't get any marketing. And I guess again, this kind of leads into my next point, where it kind of feels like you're being rejected. You're not. It's all down to budgets, but that feeling of rejection never really goes away, even after you get an agent, even after you sign a book deal, even after you get six figures. That's never happened to me, but I know authors who have had crazy deals who are still feeling that imposter syndrome, and it is normal. It's a human feeling. For me, I had book pitches rejected for like follow-ups to my book, or like other deals. They've been rejected. They said they're not marketable enough, that that's not where the market is, that we don't like it, blah 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 blah. Then there's also like awards and like book lists and sales and stuff. You're even like selling foreign rights abroad. I've had tons of no's, and it's hard sometimes because you're going to compare yourself to your peers. Like when you're an author, when you're a published author, your colleagues now are other published authors, aren't they? And when you see them getting onto these awards lists or selling a ridiculous amount of copies in the first week, you're then going to compare, okay, why didn't my book do that well? And of course, there's millions of reasons that I'm so happy for every one of my author friends, and I know they are for me as well. But that comparison, you just can't get around it. You're going to inevitably do it because that's just being human. Every author does it. I chaired a panel a couple of weeks ago for Holly Jackson for her book tour. It was huge. There was like 300 people there. There would have been more if they could fit it. And I'm sure Holly feels imposter syndrome sometimes, even though she's literally sold like 15 million copies of her first book. And I've talked about this with author friends before, and I know they feel the same way. I've had author friends who have sold books for millions of dollars and feel the same way. And I've got author friends who have had advances with a zero in front of them, and they feel the same way. It's just something that you kind of have to get used to, because you realize it's never going to go away. Another thing is something that I kind of expected, but not to the extent that it's happened. But things in publishing take a long time, and just communication is terrible. So the first part for me, my first book deal happened so fast. I signed my book deal last January and the book came out in late September. So abnormally fast. Normally a book deal is going to come out, if from like signing to release, at least a year and a half, normally 2, sometimes 3 years until the book comes out. I wasn't in that case. I think it being a thriller and not a huge epic fantasy, with it being YA and being only like 70,000 words, it was like feasible to edit during that time. But most authors do not experience that. Books take years to come out. I'm going to experience that soon. I can't say why, but I am going to. But it's other parts of the industry that I've realized are just so slow and so like lack communication. For example, like my Italian edition, that's one thing. For foreign rights, I don't know if it's different with other people, but I don't hear a peep from them. My Italian edition, I just happened to find it earlier this year on Amazon while I was looking for links for my website, and I found it online with a cover with a different title, and I was like, oh, what's this? And then 3 months later, they emailed my editor to let them know about the cover and that they've changed the title. What do you mean? I saw this 3 months ago. It's not very much of a surprise. And that was one thing that really struck me at first. I was really shocked. I was like, how is this communication so bad? But then speaking with friends in the industry, they were like, yeah, foreign publishing is just a completely other world. And I've just come to accept it. I don't think it's right. I really think that things like title changes should be talked about with you, because honestly, I don't like the title, but whatever. I know there's logistics around it, like Let's Split Up doesn't translate very well into Italian, that's why they changed it, but I feel like they should have come to me and said, okay, this is what's happening. So yeah, like stuff like that, you're not going to have control if that's super important to you. It's not going to really be in your hands. Again, with stuff like covers, like I've talked about this before, I didn't really have a say in my cover. Luckily, I really like my cover, and I think nowadays, now that I've got kind of a track record, I can say and fight back if I really hated it. But I think, especially if you're a debut, if you're looking to get in traditional publishing, you're going to feel a little bit hesitant to talk back, aren't you? But it is just one of those things that you kind of have to get used to, you have to live with. I've told my agent that I want to be in the know with everything, but even she's kept in the dark with some things, which is just how it is. I think back to literally a couple of weeks ago, I found out that my book came out in Australia and New Zealand from a follower tagging me in a video. No one told me that it was releasing there. Nobody. I'm just like, how does that happen? How does no one tell me this? I literally found out from readers. And it's amazing. I've got friends and family in Australia and New Zealand, but I'm like, I would have loved to have let them know beforehand. It's just, I just don't get how the industry works like that. I know there's thousands of authors that they're looking afterwards, but I'm just like, guys, all it takes is a little email or just like a press release that you email them for. I don't know. My next point is kind of similar to the marketing one, but I'm going to say it anyway. Success is kind of up to you. Again, this is up to how much marketing support, publicity that you get. But I will say, and I kind of mentioned it before, if your book does well, it feels even better because you know that it's because of you. Now I know my book has sold well enough for my publisher to order a sequel. I know that that happened because of my hard work that I put into it. And I know now that I'm getting more support from my marketing team, my publisher, I know that they're doing more. It's because of the success of the first book and because of the effort that I put into it. And that feels amazing. It definitely feels like you have like earned a seat at the table. Now, I don't know if I fully agree with that whole sentiment because like you already earned a seat at the table by selling a book to a publisher, which is such a hard feat in itself. And you should be super proud of when that happens, or if it doesn't, even if you self-publish, that's just as incredible. But yeah, the kind of that success does feel amazing, and I can't lie about that. It does feel great, and it helps. It really does. And for the last point, I want to say, for me, traditional publishing was completely worth it. I've had so much more success than I ever did self-publishing. And that's just because self-publishing is so, again, up to you. Now, I really didn't put much effort into the marketing, into everything of the self-publishing, because that's just not who I am. I wasn't all business savvy, which I think when you are self-publishing, you need to be. You need to have all the quadrants covered, and I just was never like that. So for me, traditional publishing was the way forward, and it's been amazing. Obviously, I've had some hiccups, and I'm not going to share them because they're a little bit private, but I think traditional publishing, if it's what you really want, it's going to be worth it. If you can get a really good team, which obviously it's you can't choose with with traditional publishing. Most people, if you get an offer anyway, it's going to be like, okay, I take this or I don't get a book deal. You could like the divine few are going to get offers. They're going to get multiple things to choose from, but that is not a realistic goal. But it's all been worth it to see my book in the hands of people that wouldn't have known about my books without having a gigantic publisher behind me. Being able to go into pretty much any bookstore in the country and finding my book, a stack of my books, a display, seeing people read my books in a cafe, that happened recently. It's just, I know it's an amazing feeling, and it's really just worth all the hard work that I've put in over the couple of years. And again, it's such a difficult industry, and you're going to learn a ton of things. I know my opinions on things are going to change in the next however many years I'm doing this. But I just want to conclude this by saying that publishing is one of the most gatekeepy industries in the world. And if this video has helped you at all, please let me know. I will do as many of these videos as I can to help try and dispel any of the rumors, any of the fake stuff going on in the industry. I don't even know how to word that. I hope this video helped. My name's Bill Wood. My books are out everywhere, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And how do I end a video? Peace. That's how I normally say peace.